Howdy folks, thanks for tuning in. My name's Ben and this is my first video of my new YouTube channel. I'm currently on the 5-acre property that my wife and I rent in Western Washington, about an hour north of Seattle. We're on 5 acres. I've been here for about 6 years, and this property is kind of an experiment in how do you create a permaculture nursery on a property that you're renting, with the intention of taking some plants with you. Can you set yourself up for the future, set yourself up for success, save money by learning how to propagate things, so that whenever you do move to a new property, you can just bring a whole ton of plant material with you, and you won't have to go through the whole. You won't have to start from scratch when you start living at a new place. So the purpose of this first video is just to do a long form walk around tour, just show you what kind of systems I've been working on, what kind of plants I have in the systems, maybe some plant guilds, some plant propagation. We'll see what comes up. But if that's something that is interesting to you, then stay tuned and we'll take a walk around. Okay, so the first section we'll talk about is the lowland section of the property. Again, we're on 5 acres. It has a lot of topography. This is the house up on the top of the hill. We're actually, the way the land is there's a hill up above the house and it kind of flattens out where the house is. Then it goes down another hill, down to this low-lying area. And actually past these trees is the Wallace River. So we have a lot of water on the property. It does flood. And so that is always a struggle and a challenge from time to time. But we'll talk about some of the things I got going on here. So when I first moved in, a lot of this area was blackberry. I call this area Artichoke Alley. I have a lot of things in here. Artichokes, obviously, Elecampane. This is also an area where I it's kind of the area where I plant extra, quote unquote, extra plants. Basically plants I don't know where to put just yet. So I have things like hazelnuts. I have some chestnuts in here. I have some monkey puzzle seedlings hiding around in here. Let's take a look at a specific setup in this area. So taking a step back and looking at all this here, a strategy that I keep in mind as I'm planting this area and a number of other areas on the property is the concept of the food forest, where you have different canopy layers. You have the upper canopy, mid, low, ground covers, and then mycelial layers. And so what we have going on here is I have a whole line of nut trees walking through. I have chestnuts, I have hazelnuts, and so those are our overstory trees in this system. Behind those and also underneath and all around, basically, I have kind of the higher shrubs. I have these chestnuts are going to be the upper canopy. The hazelnuts are going to be more like the mid canopy. Then I have things like the blueberries will take up the lower shrub layer, and then more herbaceous, shrubby type of plants, Elecampane and artichokes. I also have a lot of spearmint in here. The whole goal of this system is to one, continue to smother out the blackberry that is persisting. We're actually having a nice solid cover of creeping buttercup, which, even though it's a really invasive weed, it's actually pretty great right now because it's actually helping to keep the blackberry at bay. And so I ripped this area up probably about 3 years ago, and it's actually changed a lot, the type of the amount of blackberry that's been able to come up. So it's been working out. Let's take a look at another area. I guess a farm tour wouldn't be complete without you meeting Haas, the Haas dog, little baby border collie. He is right now a little over 1 year old. Say hi, Haas. Good boy. I just wanted to show you the back end of Artichoke Alley. Again, it's getting overgrown. These little shady corners are actually a great place to plant stinging nettle. I'm trying to create my own little stinging nettle patch back in here. It's a little bit more wet since it's shaded, and we'll keep you updated on that. The blackberry is starting to encroach on this corner because I don't really interact with this corner quite as much as other places on the property. So we'll monitor the progression of this area. Okay, walking through what would be considered the main orchard area, we have some mature blueberries that are barely hanging on. I was fortunate enough a number of years ago to be able to dig up some mature blueberry plants, but the way the deal was, we had to be kind of quick and not very careful with how we dug them up. And so we probably I probably got about 19 big blueberry plants, and we had probably a little bit more than half survive. So some of these ones that are on here have some new growth coming up. But they've also been working as a little bit of a deer deterrent. I have trees in here. I've been kind of fencing them off, and the dead or dying or just barely hanging on blackberry or blueberries are kind of just making like a twiggy fence that would help to deter deer, because we do have some deer pressure out here. Walking through, we have things like different types of apples. We have Asian pears. I have lots and lots and lots of comfrey. Look how big this comfrey is. This is really tall comfrey. It's probably some of this comfrey is just about as tall as me, about 5'9". Hiding in here, we have some persimmons. Okay, some more persimmons. Walking through, we have some different pears, and all along the sides of some of these trees, I earlier this summer, let's see if I can find them, I planted a bunch of black hawthorns that I'm planning on grafting some medlars onto. And so right over here. So this is one of the black hawthorns that I planted. And this is a younger apple here. And so I'm experimenting planting multiple trees in the same area, leading some to the north, some to the south, ones that can deal with a little bit less sun, ones that need more sun. So we'll keep walking through here. So when I first moved in, all this under all these trees was all just grass. There wasn't any shrubbery. So I've been slowly adding in comfrey, catmint, peppermint, all sorts of pretty aggressive ground covers, just so we get some more production out here other than just grass. I've also been working on adding in nitrogen fixers with each of the orchard trees. Here you can see a really, really large autumn olive that's been going crazy. I'd have to look. I think this might be a Superman autumn olive, but this is acting as a nitrogen fixer for this peach tree, this frost peach, which actually this is the first year that is bearing a lot of peaches. So pretty excited about that. Hoping that they ripen well. It's actually been a pretty cool summer. Hopefully it heats up enough to ripen these peaches, because that would be a bummer. I've also been adding in lots of sea buckthorns. They actually have been doing really well here. So my goal is at the base of each of these trees to have some sort of nitrogen fixer and some sort of herbaceous layer underneath, and just keep jamming stuff in. We'll see what survives, what doesn't survive. If it doesn't survive, that's okay. walking outside of the main nursery area, I had this idea of setting up a living willow fence. And so this was about 3 years ago. And so all along this line here, on these edges, we have different types of basketry willow that I think I'm actually going to just use as propagation material, and because it's been so spaced out and the deer are hitting it pretty hard right here. I didn't really think about the deer causing so much pressure on these, but these are growing pretty well, the ones that have survived. And so we'll keep you updated on that too. And right across from the willow fence area, you can see I have a whole hedge of sunchokes, Jerusalem artichokes. Right on the other side of this is the chicken coop, the summer chicken run. And so these artichokes, the Jerusalem artichokes, are creating a really dense shady area for the chickens right there. So it can actually get pretty hot here in the summer at times. So these sunchokes are doing a great job of creating shade for the chickens, food for us, and also when the stalks die back in the fall, and in the early, actually in the early spring, I'll take or late spring, I'm sorry, I'll take the stalks and I'll use those to mulch things. Different types of pest predators nest in these dead stalks, and so I'll give them a chance to emerge before I use all this stuff as mulching material. We have more blueberries, more little trees. I'm working on getting the sunchoke hedge going along this fence line here. Some big grapes. We've actually been having some of our more established blueberries have been really popping off right here. Goji berry. We'll talk more about goji berry later, but it grows so vigorously, and it's really, really easy to propagate. All right, let's take a look at the main gardening area. Again, I've been gone for about 2.5 weeks, and also it's been a super, super busy summer. Actually just got married this summer, and so I haven't had a whole lot of time to do a lot of weeding in the garden. I've actually just been letting things go to flower, letting the carrots go to flower, and I'll just collect seed from them. But this is the summer chicken run here. We have this chicken coop that we got from a neighbor and rebuilt it out here, and the chickens are able to run all the way down this fence line here. I throw fresh material in every day. It looks like they've already eaten it up. I might throw some more in, but they're able to scratch and peck. They have a nice shady area. I have a nice fig tree hiding in here. Walking around the garden, there's a lot of weeds going on here, but a lot of good edible weeds. Things like lamb's quarters, sheep sorrel, oxeye daisy. We have pineapple weed, pigweed, wild amaranth. So even though we also have a lot of things that we've been growing this year, but even though a lot of these beds might look like they're full of weeds, a lot of them are actually full of potential food. For example, this pigweed here, we can eat all that. And it's actually casting shade for some of the lettuce that's hiding under here. So hopefully it becomes less bitter. We'll walk through here. I've been struggling with getting out the sunchokes from this bed. I'd say one piece of advice is never grow sunchokes in an area you're gonna plan on moving them from later, because they will grow from the tiniest little bit of remnant. Let me let the dog, and he wants to hang out. Hey, Haas. You want to hang? You want to hang out? Come on. Good boy. So we also have some fig trees in here. Hopefully in the future they'll cast some shade. All of these carrots I'm letting go to seed. This is their second year. Okay, carrots are biennial. And so I will collect a lot of carrot seed this year. At least that's the plan. And actually all along the other side of the chicken fence, all along here is all rhubarb. It's all rhubarb. Going through here, I've been this summer I've been trying to get rid of or relocate all this spearmint. It makes a huge carpet all through this area. It actually smells pretty good when you walk through. Also it's actually a pretty wild space in here. I've been letting all this perennial kale go to seed. It was a kaleidoscope perennial kale. Actually getting a lot of aphids on here. So I'm actually going to cut these back and throw these to the chickens today. Yeah, I got some different types of currants going on here. I got red currant. These are ripening up. I got comfrey all up in here, which I need to try to get out. I actually just harvested all these beds were garlic. There's some garlic in here too, which I just harvested yesterday. Some beets that are going to seed here that I'm going to collect the seed from. Yeah, just lots of stuff going on here. Here we have some grapes on this side. There's some more grapes over here that will hopefully create shade for the chickens later on as it gets more established. In here, hiding out, which is actually pretty cool. I haven't checked on this plant in a while. This is actually this guy right here is Caucasian mountain spinach, or Hibiscus. It's basically a perennial spinach-like green that is viney. Has a vining tendency, growth pattern. Looks like I need to do some weeding in here, free up some space for it. I also have a lot of herbs in here, oregano. Let's take a look at the main nursery area. Okay, this is the craziness that is the main nursery area right now. I need to do a lot of weeding in here, but there's a lot of stuff jammed in here. Basically, I try to propagate a lot of things that are easily propagated by cuttings. So things like figs, goji berry, elderberries, and also things that are easily propagated from seed. I've got a lot of skirret in here, which is a perennial carrot-like root vegetable. I have some aronia in here. I have so many goji berry cuttings. I have really, really high success with goji berry. Muskmallow. This is also the area where I have a lot of good King Henry hanging out in here. These are all things that I'm going to parse out in the fall and make more sense of this area. This is, again, like I said, this is a very, very wild area at the moment. I'm just barely holding on to the semblance of what's going on in here, but it's a controlled chaos. It really is. Let's see here. Last year I grew out a ton of euphorbia, or Mediterranean spurge, and they're actually putting on a lot of growth. I probably had about a little bit, like a dozen and a half, maybe 2 dozen euphorbia plants that I grew from seed last year. They've just been sizing up in this nursery area. Yeah, and fun fact, if you ever decide to lay down cottonwood branches as a mulch, they will shoot out roots from from the branches, and then you'll have to deal with those. But you can make good medicine from the leaves if you wanted to. So I got some elderberries hanging out here, borage, which seeds itself really easily. Here I have some American persimmons that I'm hoping to take with me when we move. But also I'll have some on the property here. Here is Tuna sinensis, or Chinese fragrance plant. Has edible onion-like leaves. I've been refraining from eating much of it just because I want it to put on some good size. But it's put on a good few feet this year of growth already. Walking out here, I have been rooting out some other perennial kales. I also have sea kale going in here, which, Haas, what are you doing in there? Which I was hoping that the sea kale would actually ripen some seed. These are all sea kale plants that I've grown from seed. I'm gonna have to relocate them next year. But in here, all this is skirt. I have some elecampane. Also some perennial Korean celery is all in here too. And quite a few things I'm sure that I'm forgetting that I have in here. But let's check out the greenhouse. This is the greenhouse. This is probably the least complicated area on the farm. Right in here, I guess we do have some sunflowers that have made it in here. But basically trying to grow a lot of paste tomatoes this year. There's some comfrey that's in the back. That's just like remnant from growing comfrey in different places. A root probably fell in there, but I just let it go. We are having a lot of volunteer weeds in here that are good, like those lamb's quarters. I'm actually going to start transplanting like the more favorable quote-unquote weeds to different areas of the farm where I have things like nipplewort, and I'll remove that and I'll put in lamb's quarters instead. So if I'm gonna have weeds grow, why not have weeds that I want to eat grow instead of things I don't want to eat, right? Makes sense. At least I think so. And don't mind this area. It's all just neglected. So this whole hillside up by the house is patrolled by our single billy goat, Sunday. He does a good job. Maybe we'll see him out there. But all along the line here, I'm just trying to shove in plants wherever I can along the edges of things. So I have things like, well, more elecampane, ridiculous amount of elecampane, different types of currants. I have red, white, and black currants here. Really easy to propagate from cuttings, so that's why I picked them. These things have put on a lot of growth this year. And let's take a look across this bridge. I did not build this bridge, by the way. So here I've got some more mature walnuts. This one's not doing so hot. Excuse me, buddy. So again, I gotta go in here and weed a lot of stuff. But in here I have 2 mature medlars. They're actually making a decent amount of fruit this year. I also have some of my more mature chestnuts. I actually see them flowering right here. That's exciting. Actually just noticed that. That's pretty cool. More mature blueberry. This is also where my biggest elderberries are. I'm currently trying to propagate about 5 or 6 different varieties of elderberry that eventually I'll be able to offer. I also have yostaberry in here. Of course, comfrey is always represented, and I have a lot of garden sorrel in here too. Ridiculous amount of garden sorrel sorrel all around the property. And all along the edges here, I have more chestnut trees, some apples in here, but basically chestnuts and apples and different types of berries. Moving on up the hill, we again, just putting in more stuff. I have a lot of different spots that Sweet Cicely is growing. Sweet Cicely has licorice flavored leaves, or anise flavored leaves, pretty delicious. It was kind of like a more wild area. I have some more chestnuts along this fence line here, and also some apples, another mulberry. This here is the fall and winter chicken run. I let it green up a lot during the summer, so that whenever I put them in the fall and winter, they have a lot of greenery to eat on. Again, I kind of have similar themes here, you know, some more overstory trees, nitrogen fixers, understory. This is also the area that I have two of my largest mulberries, a Pakistan mulberry, 2 Pakistan mulberries. I have about 4 different varieties of mulberry here. It actually looks like we got a ripe berry here. Let's pull this one off. Pretty good. Lots of mallow. Okay, I also have some asparagus that I've been letting go crazy in here. And these 2 trees here are 2 Asian persimmons that they flowered and produced fruit their first year putting in. This is the second year that they have not flowered. So, trying to figure out what's going on with that. Not too sure. Maybe it's just not the right climate here for them or something. We also have a big problem with morning glory throughout here, and it's starting to spread. Probably from me moving things around, but things will be big enough to be able to fend it off eventually. And so what we'll do is we'll keep walking up the hill here, and we'll take a look at the terraced areas. Walking up the hill here, we have a lot of blackberry, a lot of wild Himalayan blackberry. So we, if all else fails, if we didn't get any berries from anything else we're growing, we can always gather gallons and gallons of blackberry every year, the Himalayan blackberry. And so this whole hillside going up here was all shrubs and blackberry again, and I tore all that out. And over time, I built up these terrace sections where I have, again, currants, lots of garden sorrel, some flowering plants, lots of random things shoved in here. I also have different elderberry cuttings going. It's kind of just another place that I put nursery plants. So I intersperse the garden plants in with the nursery stock, and they share space pretty well. And here we have a white currant. Let's walk over here. This here is a perennial bronze fennel. This is its second year here. It's been doing very well. And here we have some mallow, and we actually have this perennial nasturtium that is doing a good job spreading all around. The name of it is actually escaping me at the moment, but we'll talk about it at some other point. Let's see here. So, elderberries, I have more Good King Henry in here. Horseradish. And so, yeah, so up here I have more elderberries. This here is a perennial pepper. I just put this in this year. So a Shanzhou seedling. Japanese pepper, some more rhubarb, just lots and lots of random stuff. And so up here I'm also trying to propagate a lot of hosta, lots of different types of hostas, because you can eat the new young spring shoots of hosta. So slowly building up my collection of hostas as well up here. And also I have some asparagus that's hiding in here. Yeah, it's been a wild year. I haven't had time to really weed a lot of things as well as I should. And here's some crazy chocolate peppermint going nuts in here. This one here is Vietnamese mint. We'll talk about that later. Let's go all the way up to the top here. All right, so this is the top part of the property, or I guess technically the middle part. Way up on the hill up here is like, I guess technically the upper part of the property, but I don't have much up there. I have some trees that I've planted, so the most focused area is up here. So I have this little corner here. Again, blackberry, always contending with it, but I have lots of overflow chestnut and hazelnuts from this past year. I also have some monkey puzzles in here, just because I grew so many of them, and I sold a lot of them, but not all of them. And so up here, the whole goal here is I was eventually trying to beautify this area and also create some privacy screens for the house. And I was doing that by way of these filbert hazelnuts. I've got a few different varieties of hazels going in here. And I'm actually thinking that next year is going to be the first year I get some nuts off of this. I was thinking maybe this year, because they flowered, made some really nice catkins, but I haven't seen any nuts on them yet developing. And also more sea buckthorns, elecampane. I have some columnar apples up here. These hazelnuts have been getting, when I first planted them, they were like down here. They've put on a lot of growth over the years. More and more comfrey, always the comfrey. And this is the largest sea buckthorn that I have. It's probably about 12 feet tall. And it started, again, it was just a little guy whenever I put him in. And so, put on a ridiculous amount of growth. There's actually, I only have a few males. I'm starting to put more males in, but there's actually some berries be put on. Eventually, when I get some stronger males up here, when my male gets bigger, hoping that it makes a lot more fruit. But really high value plant. Also have some figs up here, more columnar apples. And over here is just the truth of a busy nursery person who doesn't do this as their primary gig. But under here I have a bunch of walnut starts. I harvested some different walnuts from a guy this past fall and planted them out. I'm gonna take some time and weed out here. Again, the bindweed, the morning glory is just crazy out here. So I probably have about like 50 maybe walnut trees in there. Lots of different sage. I have some creeping raspberry in there. Some edible leaf goji. Over here, different types of flowers, lots and lots of lemon balm, nasturtiums, lady's mantle. Up top here, let's see, some more perennial kale, motherwort. This here is lovage, like a perennial celery, some types of sedums, Yeah, again, lots of different stuff. Another type of perennial kale. I have a couple more persimmons up here. Yeah, more sea buckthorns and some cloner apples. Again, it's completely overgrown up here. I need to do a lot of work, just have not had time. And this is an Italian prune plum that I'm hoping actually bears next year. And lots of different other herbs shoved in here. Got some peonies, another goji berry, and over in the mailbox here are some columnar apples. All right, well, thanks for watching if you made it this far. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for other videos in the future. All right, thanks guys.